Good evening, and thank you. Thank you for joining the show. Good evening, good evening, good
No
evening.
problem, no problem.
Listen, earlier I was playing the song, and honestly, I listened to you, and I went from the No Surrender, and then I played the Reminds Me, and I'm like, why, hit after hit you have here and stuff like that. So, um, you know, Alicia Cinnamon, Queen of the North. That's the slogan that you have, correct? The, what
um,
do you
so
still
that
go
is,
by that, or you're not with that anymore? What's going on?
I find people have a difficult time referring to that title, but I think people look too deeply into the title. It is my EP album name.
Okay.
The reason I chose that name for my album is simply because I had released the album in Atlanta, and it wasn't just about me. I wanted them to know that Canada is here to stay.
Okay.
So when I did it in 2017, this is before Kawhi came here, before any of that stuff, I was
Yeah.
like, if they don't remember my name, what are they going to remember about me, which is Canada? So when I dropped it, it was Queen of the North. Because I have an organization where I was working with a bunch of females called Northern Queens, when that kind of went its separate way and all the girls are doing their different things, there was only me left. So I'm like, Queen of the North.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay. So that's where the Queen of the
yeah,
North came from.
it's
All
not
right.
about me trying to take over the world or any of that stuff or whatnot. I'm like, I think people look a little bit too deeply into the title, but yeah,
Listen, this Wizology, we learn everything all the time, all the while right here. So,
exactly
kudos for that. It's just a campaign slogan, and
right.
that's it. And people, so now people understand where it's coming from. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, let's start there. Who is Alicia Cinnamon?
Um, so I like to call myself an artivist. It's like an artist and an activist combined it. So basically, like for anybody who's actually following me, like I'm big in like politics and like the empowerment of the Black community.
Okay.
So basically, I realized like one of the ways that I can get people to actually listen to me is by using my social platform.
Okay.
So a lot of my music has like messages of either upliftment to the Black community or to uplift, I mean, women in general, but particularly because I am a Black woman. So Alicia Cinnamon is pretty much an artivist and as in a lesser form, singer songwriter, basically.
Okay. Artivist. I like it.
Yeah,
Artivist. Okay. Do you find the two worlds battle each other at multiple
absolutely,
times? And
absolutely.
yeah, is it struggle? Is it hard? Is it difficult? Is it overwhelming?
Um, all of the above, for the simple fact that like when you're, especially like being a female artist, like there's there's like a role that people expect you to play,
Like,
like kind of, for lack of a better term, deaf, dumb, and stupid.
okay.
So when you're a female and you're outspoken or you speak about things that kind of like stir the pot, you can be labeled as problematic. So for me, if I were just like to sing songs and be pretty and shut up, life would be great. But because I kind of like push the envelope, I end up catching like a little bit of resistance. So it has its ups and its downs.
And you think people have you as problematic because of this?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But,
Absolutely.
but you're standing up for I guess rights.
Right.
Right? I don't find that problematic. I'm a little confused. Like, if you're speaking on a topic that affects, you know, the world, basically. It does huh?
No, I just said, what's up, Uncle Johnny?
Okay, okay. So it affects the world, especially the problems that you're speaking upon. Um, what makes it problematic?
Um, I think because, there you go. As Street Hustle says, I speak my mind. I think a lot of the times I'm saying what most people think, but are not comfortable to say.
Okay.
And when, especially being a Black woman, you have to be very cautious of like what you say, how you say it, the way that you say it. So I think a lot of the stuff that I'm saying, it's not that other people aren't saying it, it's who it's coming from. And I just got to a place where I was like, I always had to be very selective of the wording that I used or the tone that I used it in. And it's like, I'm not like an angry person. I'm very passionate.
Okay.
And so it came to a point where I was like, I feel like I have to like tiptoe around a lot of topics just to make other people comfortable. And it's just like, you know what, I'm just going to speak my mind or put it in the music or whatever. And those who get it, and those who don't. So I think the problem with it comes from the fact that like I don't necessarily seek acceptance. Like I'm not out here like begging for validation. You either like me or you don't.
Okay. Okay. And I think that's fair. So far, so good. That to me, I think that's really fair. You know, let's get with your musical career. You are a
Yeah.
talented singer. I've watched
Thank
you perform. I,
you.
I know your stage presence. I know you handle a stage presence. I know your professionalism. I know how, you know, you like to put things in accordance, which every artist does. So you don't
Right.
do anything of the different. Um, you know, let me tell you something. The
Sure.
the 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 level where Alicia Cinnamon is at, should you be higher up? Are you comfortable where you're at? Is there something stopping for you to go higher? Is the acceptance? What's going on? You, why I think, in my own personal opinion, you're not higher than you should be.
I mean, absolutely. Um, I think my outspokenness has definitely rubbed some people the wrong way. Um, Maybe some people in higher positions. But at the same speed, I don't necessarily have regrets. Like I'm not out here to kiss ass. I'm not out here to beg people for acceptance. Like I'm well aware of my talent. And if I have to compromise myself or my beliefs, then I'm just not going to do it. And so for me, it's like I grew up in a very musical family. Like music has always been a part of me. So I'm not here doing music for like clout or validation or any of that stuff. Like it lives and breathes inside of me. Like
Mhm.
it's just like, you know, it's like blinking and walking and talking. So for me, it's like the validation will come from the fans. Like I look at like only I see my results. Like there's no record label that's counting my sales or any of that stuff. Like I know what I wake up to every day, whether it's in my DMs, whether it's women that are reaching out to me, whether it's different bookings that I'm getting.
Right.
And that in itself is validation enough. I know I come from Canada, so it's a very difficult place. And it's so small that like if you rub one person the wrong way, you can kind of like rub everybody the wrong way because I find Toronto is very click oriented. And if some people might like you, but if the people that they're around don't like you, a lot of people are not old enough to say, you know what, like I'm still gonna roll with this chick even though it's not popular.
Okay.
So find that's where the resistance comes in, where it's like who's popular right now, and that's who we're following back behind. And I think I have a lot of influence, but I might not necessarily be popular, so to speak, if
Okay.
that makes
Okay. Totally.
sense.
I'm working with you. I'm working with you. Totally understand. We find that I find when you say that, there's a problem with the music industry. There's
Absolutely.
definitely there's a problem with the music industry. I mean, tonight is an awards night. I'm not going to say the name. There's some kind of awards going on. I'm
Yeah.
not really jumping for joy at it. As an
Right.
artist, and I'm on the outside looking in, but as an artist,
Yeah.
are you feeling that you're being left behind with them per se? Are you feeling that there's any form of, how could I say, resentment not being a part of that?
The problem I have with that is not so much the validation from the people who are involved with the awards, so to speak, because they don't know what's going on in the city. They're just a bunch of like people that are sitting behind a panel that are issuing the responsibility to people who are biased. So my issue comes into place where there are certain things that I see come to light that I know are stolen from my brand. There are people that I know that watch the way that I walk, talk, dress, dress, breathe, move, and then they use that to propel their brand. And so it looks like it's authentic to them, but it's really a knockoff of me. That is where I'm frustrated because I only, again, like I am a person where like I book my own shows, I write my own music, I style my own self. Like I'm very responsible for all the things that I do. So I also know when something that I've done has been ripped off because it's something that I've given birth to. So my issue comes into place when those people that are in a position of higher power isn't, they don't actually know what's going on in the industry. They're not doing their homework and research. Like I've had people rip off my songs. I've had people rip off my lyrics. I've had people like literally steal my bio and bits and piece it and put it together for themselves.
Wow.
And so I'm aware of that. It's like, how come there aren't people in higher positions of power that are aware of what's going on to stop it? And some of those people are, you know, friends with the artists or whomever that are doing these things. So it makes it very difficult. So the only thing I can do for myself is, that's why I choose to be outspoken. It's like, I know that I'm going to meet resistance, but maybe it'll open gates for somebody else. Like in terms of what's going on tonight, I've wrote to those people and said, you guys need more diversity. And this is, you know, months ago. And it was like, our stuff needs to be televised. And, you know, like you guys need to really start looking into what's going on in the urban community. Flash forward, everybody and their mom is booked on that except for me. So a lot of the times when you're a leader, you're going to meet resistance because people don't want to give you credit for the idea. But to me, it's like, as long as one of us wins, I'm happy. Like I'm good with where I'm at. I'm gonna win regardless. My music is out there. People know who I am, and that's off the strength of me. So to me, like I've already won. Anything else is just a bonus.
And you know, have to agree with you on this point because I've been a fighter of this, whatever's going on tonight, with just,
right,
how could I say, this genre, especially the reggae genre. The
yeah,
reggae genre to me is not respected enough. And I'm upset because if you have a man who could win 5 times, that's more than anybody else. Then if a man wins 5 times, there's two things that I say is wrong. Is that means you're trying to say there's nobody else, number one, or number two, I mean he's talented all around. But
right,
then if he wins 5 times and he's that good, he's beaten out some of the top people who have so-called been up there that have won 1 or 2 times. He should be televised. He should
absolutely,
be on
absolutely,
television. He should be respected enough to be televised and shown a gratitude for 5 times. You know what I mean? Like it's just insane. So I see no win in that situation.
absolutely.
You understand? No, I see
Yeah,
no win. But you know, again, the bigger heads they try and prevail over us, but I don't believe they know what's going on a street level.
exactly.
I don't
It's
believe that. I don't believe that they know what's going on. I think they keep the building level and they try to keep us to here. You know what I mean?
right.
And we already passed them. Believe you me,
Exactly.
we've already passed
Exactly.
them. Like
Exactly.
I
Like to me, it's like those awards are supposed to kind of give you international exposure, so to speak.
so to speak,
Right. And the way I look at it is like I've gotten international exposure by
regardless,
myself.
regardless.
Like I traveled and did my own shows by myself
Yeah,
to other places in the world. So it's like, what can you do for me that I can't do for myself? And that's where I say to a lot of artists, it's like, do not let that, like, for example, Nicki Minaj, she's like been kind of like blackballed from the Grammys, so to speak. But we can't discredit the fact that she's one of the best female rappers to have ever done it. So if you seek validation from these award ceremonies and stuff like that, you will lose yourself because it's not really about the talent. It's not really about the work ethic or any of that stuff. There's politics. So I try to not let that, I mean, again, it sucks and we all want it, but I also try not to, like, that's not the reason why I got into music. That's
Right.
not the end all be all for me. So what we need to do, as far as I'm concerned, especially when it comes to the Black community, like, I'm not even going to say urban, I'm going to say the Black community, is that we need to put together our own award shows where we are aware of what's going on and we can acknowledge the people that are actually doing the work. Because if we depend on validation from other people, they're not going to put in the same effort that we would put into ourselves. That's how I look at it.
My thing is that why I'm upset with them is because the more we voice our opinion, the more they try to hold us down. Instead
Yeah,
of thinking, you know what, they have a voice or something to say. Maybe we should have a meeting and listen to them. Instead of
right,
trying to look at us as we're oppressors,
right,
they're trying to look down upon us,
right,
or they get upset, and they get upset because we voiced against them.
yeah,
And this is what I get angry with. My whole point is that why get angry if I'm against something you say? Then this is a word called communication. And why
right,
not communicate with me then and find out why I'm angry? Find out what's
right,
been going on, because I know so
right.
much things about that award show. There should have been changes years ago, but
Years
there's
ago.
people who are wanting to
Yeah,
stay at the top because that gives them validation. And,
exactly.
there's certain things I can't really go into because they try and to corral and bully and use bully tactics with
Yeah,
people instead of instead of them addressing the real people that are doing real things
yeah,
that are I mean, I was in there
yeah,
and I saw it and I was like, this doesn't make any sense to me. What's happening here? This is not how
exactly.
I see this. But, lo and behold, that's for a different time zone and different thing. We're on Alicia Cinnamon's career right now, and that's what we're talking about, because we could just go on and on about that. But that's
I
part
agree.
of I understand your frustration now, and I
Yeah,
understand it. So, here the thing about it is that I I almost feel like I'm on the same path that you're on with that, and you're on that path, and I feel that there's other people um,
absolutely.
on that path. But
Yeah,
how come I didn't know this? How come I didn't know this? How come somebody else didn't know this? And I'll use him because he's here. How come Rodeo didn't know? You know what I mean? And I'm just, are we that divided?
well, I think being a female, a lot of us are overlooked. Um, and that goes back into a lot of the way that a lot of us carry ourselves. Like, most people aren't expecting a female to carry as much weight as I do. So a lot of people like to give credit to the men that are around me. Like, she must have done this for this, or it must be that person that's hooking her up, da da da. Not realizing, like, I'm usually the person that people call on the phone and chat to for like hours to figure out like how they're gonna plan their next move. And I'm not a bossy person. I'm very humble behind the scenes, where it's like I went to school for music, so I live and breathe this stuff. So if I can help you like plan your next event, get a venue, get grants or whatever, like, that's the type of person that I am. It's not going to take away from me to take a minute or two to help somebody else plan their next move.
Hmm.
Where kind of where I lose out is a lot of people, especially in Toronto, don't give credit. Like, I'm not asking for money or stars and the moon and this and that. It's just like, yo, big up Alicia Cinnamon for, helping me out with this idea, or for helping me plan this, or for linking me with this artist, or doing that. I find in Toronto, credit is something that we do not like to give. And that is something like I'm big on. It'll look like, oh, she's begging for friendship. Like, no, like, I mean, me and you, we've had our differences, but if you look at my digital copy of Queen of the North, your name is written in the thank yous. You know what I mean? And I don't know many artists who have ever done that. And when I did it, it's like, oh, she's begging for this and she's begging for that. And it's like, no, like, I'm well aware of people that I wouldn't have reached certain places if they didn't say, okay, you know what, let me look at this girl a little bit differently and take the opportunity to give her that chance.
Yeah,
So I always give credit. And I
right.
don't know if that's the Caribbean in me, but Canada does not like to give credit in any way, shape, or form, no matter what it is that we do.
Right. But oh, I, I didn't even know we had a difference, but that's okay. I didn't know that.
I feel like sometimes you don't like me, but it's okay. I still like you.
No, you you'll never hear that from me. Never ever. I don't think there's ever one bad time that I've ever said that. I don't think we've ever had a disagreement ever. Not you and I ever. Never
Okay.
ever. I can't
Okay.
remember. Okay, I can't remember. Let's leave it there. I can't remember. I don't remember that still. I don't remember. But hey, I mean, because you have a banging song. Like the song is banging. Like real top class with you and Uncle Johnny. Top class song.
I love that song.
It is a top
That's my resort tune.
top class song. So I don't know. I have no problems with you at all. Honestly, if I gave you that intention, I apologize, but I never did.
I think more for me, it's like, especially dance hall, it's like everybody is like, if we like this person, then everybody likes that person. If we don't like that person, then everybody doesn't like that person. So for me, I kind of like just like stay in the background. Like it's just like, okay, when I have music,
But are you dancehall though? Are you
I'm
dancehall?
not, but people like to put me, like I can tell who does and doesn't listen to my music by the
Right.
categories that put me in. I probably have dancehall-ish music, maybe one or two of them, but I'm not actually a dancehall artist. Like I'm more of a soul artist, if anything. But the culture is so like small that people, I guess, don't know really what to label. I do a little bit of everything: hip hop, reggae, soul. So I think people don't necessarily know what to label me as.
Yeah.
I just think I kind of fit in my own lane. Like I'm like a real Canadian in the sense, like I grew up listening to like Hindu music and rock and roll and punk and hip hop and everything. So I can't just be like, I'm gonna do reggae because I'm not in Jamaica. Like there's not one dominant type of music. It's not like Trinidad where soca is, you know, the dominant thing. Like it's a little bit of everything.
Right.
But the dancehall culture almost tried to like suck me in, and I was like, yo, I'm not dancehall. Like I don't think I have skin for the dancehall.
Right. It's not an easy road. It's not an easy road.
At all, in any way, shape, or form.
You have to be really strong to last. I mean, you know, it's what I know. So I know it's what I've been in. So
right.
I mean, I know you're versatile. I mean, when I pictured you, I always pitched you as that smoothed out kind of R&B type, but you could flow on a, like, you know, one drop and stuff like that. And that's why I said most of your one drops, they sync with me. They really do sync with me, and I appreciate them. But is there a path that you have? Is there a path that's labeled for Alicia Cinnamon, or you just stay versatile? I mean, is there something that, you know?
Personally, for me, like I haven't seen an artist do what it is that I want to do. And I think that's where I meet a lot of roadblocks because I don't necessarily have something to look up to. It's just a lot of the stuff that I do is intuition. Like I have a whole bunch of collaborations that are coming out, and literally like when we left the studio or when we finished doing the song, we were all like, what genre is this? Because I don't necessarily like to box myself in. I know it'll be easier to get the awards to say, okay, best reggae song or best R&B song or best hip hop song, but I just kind of go with like the vibe. So for me, it's like I
don't mean to cut you, but isn't that a problem then? Because if they don't know where to situate your music, how do they know where to how can I say that, you know, engulf you, acknowledge? How do they know? Because there's no category for just a vibe.
Right. Well, that's the thing. In going back to the award show that we were talking about, they actually did something like a survey asking like what kind of new awards would you like to see incorporated. And what most people said was a category for fusion or crossover type music.
Okay.
Because again, like when you're born in Canada, we didn't grow up with one type of music. Like my babysitter was like Punjabi, and then I would go to school with like, Emu kids, and then I'm going home to a Caribbean household.
Okay.
So there wasn't one type of music that I listened to. So it's
Right.
like that to me is what made Drake stand out, is that his music, you can't really label it. Like it's for everybody. Old people can listen to it, young people can listen to it, Caribbean, black, white, Chinese, like, and I think that is actually the epitome of Canadian music. So I think Canada needs to step back and actually find its own culture, as opposed to try to mirror all the other cultures that are going on, and realize like we got so much diversity that we might need to expand past just reggae, hip hop, R&B, whatever. Like there's reggae R&B, there's dancehall R&B, there's dancehall hip hop. Like there's so much fusion.
Right.
So I think when we elevate to that point, like it's easy for me to say, okay, I'm going to drop a reggae track and get best reggae song of the year or whatever. But then I also know that like authentic reggae artists, so to speak, will be like, oh, she didn't deserve that. She's not even a reggae artist. So it's like that weird space.
Mm-hmm. I'm following you and I'm understanding what you're saying. I'm just my point I'm trying to do is garnish it down a direct path, because you are so versatile. You can
Right.
do you are I've seen it. You could sing, you could souls it out on stage, flip to an R&B and then hit reggae notes like crazy. And I know that. I've seen it. I've witnessed it. So I know you have that talent across the board. Um, my problem that I have is that there's not many of you that have
Right.
that talent. So if it basically be a category for yourself, pretty much.
Yeah. Give
It,
me my flowers. Like I,
you,
I feel
you
like
know,
that's where my frustration comes from. And it's like, not to say it in an egotistical way, but I think the fact that I am so unique doesn't get enough credit. Like, I think everybody kind of wants me to be like what everybody else is doing. And like, I've worked so, like, there was a point in time when I stopped listening to any artist for like maybe 4 or 5 years, just so I could establish my own sound. So I wasn't sounding like Beyonce or Lauryn Hill or Tanya Stevens or whatever on a track. I wanted to sound like Alicia Cinnamon.
okay,
So I think like there's not enough credit for people who actually like really, really invest, like to say like I'm sure there's like a million people who woke up during COVID and wanted to be an artist. And when you're somebody who's been doing this for a while, like it's almost like a slap in the face, not to discredit anybody's dreams, but it's like if it's not something that you actually wanted to do, but you're doing it because it's popular, so to speak, it's like the people that actually have been like busting their ass to get recognition. And now because you're popular or you know so and such, you're an artist now. It's like
right.
very insulting. So I just kind of feel like Toronto needs to like kind of take a time. Canada needs to take a step back and like really establish its own industry, as opposed to trying to fit in with what's going on in the rest of the world. Because we have enough here to sustain like an audience, so to speak.
Understood.
There's enough music. There's enough people who listen to our music to actually say, okay, Canada or Toronto is going to be the next Mecca, like how Atlanta or LA or New York was. That's why I look at it.
Uh, Fair enough, fair enough. How do you feel about the support system for Canada in the as in radio DJs, as in, I we're limited on TV, I guess, so it had to be radio. I mean, we don't get much
Um,
there. But what's your take on it? And the reason I ask is because you're a veteran artist. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you've been down the road, around the road like many times, seeing the struggles and going through it. So what is your take on it?
um, okay, what was your question again? Say it again.
The media, the support system, is it, how do you feel about it?
Um, we didn't have, or we don't have a lot of media, and that's something that I was aware of when I first got in, which is why like I like started my own like talk show, Real Talk with Alicia Cinnamon, and it's basically giving my platform. It's a blessing and a curse to other artists to really talk about their journey, because I'm somebody who like I spend a lot of my time, like I'm going back to school in fall for like social media and digital marketing. Like I'm somebody who actually spends a lot of time like figuring out like how to market myself.
Okay.
But lot of people don't have that opportunity in Canada, because to say that you're going to be a full-time artist is almost like impossible, so to speak. So I found like instead of complaining about the lack of media outlets, just to create my own. So I feel like we need a lot more people who, like, everybody and their mom is an artist, and that's amazing. But like we need more people that are willing to be behind the scenes. And that was an issue that I had with a lot of people that were like around me, my team, so to speak. It's like I'm thinking like, okay, you want to be a DJ and you want to be a photographer, but then when they got around me, everybody wanted to be an artist. So nobody really wanted to play that behind the scenes roles. And unfortunately, I know speaking for myself, like as an artist, like I put on a lot of showcases where I had to put on other artists, and I don't feel like I should have to do that. Like I should be able to kick back and have a promoter book me and I show up for bookings instead of me having to put on other artists, because essentially it's like you don't see McDonald's resharing a Burger King commercial. So when I do that as an artist, I'm giving away my platform. I'm tapping in, I'm letting other artists who might not genuinely mess with me, you know what I mean, take over my platform or sabotage me. And when you endorse somebody, it's like I can't no longer say, oh, I don't rap with that person anymore. It's like, hey, you just put them on the show and we're picking them up, and blah, blah, blah. So I found that a lot of us artists kind of took over the role of being promoters or artist development or booking agents, and we really shouldn't have to do that because it takes away from the craft.
Wow. Okay. Okay. All right. So some artists are doing a little bit too much. You feel, you know?
Yeah.
I get it. I understand. I understand. You know, you have a lot of singles floating around.
Yeah.
A lot. You know what I mean? And you know, it's how do you take it? It's good and it's bad, and that's my perspective from my side of, and not just you. I'm talking in general, not just you alone. But especially for Canada. Canada is one of the hardest places for any artist to make it, I feel. That's my personal perspective. And you have a lot of singles floating around. And I feel like some of them are not being developed how they should be developed. Are you feeling that you did too much or didn't promote? Is it what is it? What is it?
Um, Again, going back to what I said initially, a lot of is like I've seen people literally like rip off my song. So a lot of it has to do with there are people who might have a bigger buzz than me or have been out longer than me that are kind of like ripping off my music. So it doesn't get the push that it's supposed to get, because then you have to acknowledge where it came from. So I've noticed a lot of that. Then there's a lot of like, there's politics in Canada. Like, to me, it's like whenever I release a new single, I just send it to Atlanta and I let it do its stuff out there. So like out there, like the respect that I feel I should get in Toronto, I get that from Atlanta. So that shows me, that's where I get like my validation from, where I'm like, okay, like if somebody needs to host a mixtape, they're like, hey, let's hit up Cinnamon. Or if there's a booking out there, they're willing to fly me out and pay for that. Whereas here, everybody's still talking to me about exposure. And it's like, no offense, but like most people in Toronto know who I am. If they like me, that's a different story, but they know who I am. So you can't really expose me to anything but the win. So I found that exposure part is where I just kind of like faded away, where it's like, if I'm going to pay for promotion, like you got to be able to put me in places that I can't get, one. And then if I'm going to perform and you're going to give me the exposure, like I personally am at a point where you're supposed to pay me to perform. Like I know what it is that I bring to the table.
Understood.
So that hinders a lot, because you have so many artists out here who are willing to perform for free that a lot of people are not willing to reach back for the artists that do have a price. So I think that hinders also the promotional aspect as well too. But I always look at it like, I remember when Wayne Wonder's No Letting Go got big on like, I think it was like Energy 108. And I remember that song was because my dad was a DJ. So that song, I had already heard it years before it actually got big on the radio. So when they were making it seem like it's a big tune, I'm like, this is old. So I always look at my music like it might be old to me, but there's that one moment where if it just gets in the right hands of the right DJ or the right station or whatever, it can catapult. And one of those songs is like the Barris remix that I have. Like people will find it and still try to play it like it's a new track. And I'm like, yo, guys, you know, I have their original tunes that came after that, but people still gravitate to that one song. So I just kind of let it do what it's supposed to do. And I'm just a firm believer in like what is meant to be for me will be for me, whether it's today or tomorrow or 10 years down the line. Like, even though like I come in as like a veteran, I've only been in the game since like 2016. So the fact that people put me on the same level as certain people, like I'm humbled and appreciative of that, because I look at myself as I'm still very new. Like they say, was it 10 years? It takes 10 years to have overnight success.
Yeah.
So like I'm quite there yet. So I'm just grateful for the fact that people even think I'm supposed to be further ahead. That shows me what's to come.
You just shocked me. I didn't know I thought you've been in the game from that as well. Still, this is something new to me that I history this, so I didn't know. And you come a long way. Wow. And you know, I saw somebody type something, which was what I was going to discuss again as well. The States seems to gravitate when you're not from there and you go in there and they accept.
No.
But that's not the case. Okay.
It's the polar opposite. Like I thought when I went over there, because I was Canadian, like here, if you book somebody from Jamaica or the States, that person's getting like prime slots and hotel treatment and all this fancy stuff. Over there, had to see, like when I went, first of all, when I went out there, like I got punked off a lot because I was Canadian. So they thought they could just punk us off. So it's like, you'll go next, you'll go next, you'll go next, when I was doing like a festival. And I remember the festival that they put me on the very end. And this festival was like going on all day. And I was the only reggae artist. So they were like, kind of like, it's supposed to be a soul festival. And when I performed, that's when I started seeing all the Jamaicans. Because you know, if you're in America, you're an American. You lose your accent and everything. So I started seeing all the Jamaicans come out like, bum, bum. Sorry, I don't want to swear in your stuff. But, you know, like, and I was like, oh shit, you're Jamaican? Because they got dreads on, like green and purple. So I didn't know they were actually like, you know, like dread or Jamaicans.
Yeah.
And when I was finished, that's when they're like, okay, this girl got her stripes. Like I really had to like prove myself when I was out there. And they put on every, like when you're listening to the radio stations, there's no all Canadian, there's no all Atlanta hour, so to speak. Like all the songs that you're hearing are coming from mainly Atlanta artists and then maybe other American artists. And then you might hear Drake. So here it's like, it's insulting to hear the all Canadian hour. Like you wouldn't go to Jamaica and hear an all Jamaican hour. That sounds even funny to say it.
I made that mistake. I apologize. I apologize endlessly, like all the time. But you know,
I mean, it's like when you hear that, it's like when I like, why are we not turning on the radio and hearing nothing but Canadian music, and then a 1-2 Jamaican artist or a 1-2 American artist or whatever? Because we have enough. Like I always make this joke, like ISIS alone has enough music to fill like a 2-hour show on the radio. So we have enough music where people can tune in and listen to us, and it doesn't have to be dedicated to a one particular day. Even when I was in Atlanta, I was like at a club and an ISIS tune came on. I said, oh, I'm from Toronto. So they played an ISIS tune. And I had to hit him up and be like, do you know your music is bubbling out here? Because we're not aware of the fact that how far we reach. And a lot of us, we don't give ourselves that kind of credit because we box ourselves in. Like, we're not walking down the street and hearing, oh my God, it's Alicia Cinnamon. Like, nobody's doing that. Whereas when I'm in the States, it's a different energy. And you're like, you kind of have to like, it's like split personality. Like, you got to have to go from being humble to being a diva in the same like breath or whatever. So I feel like if the radio stations and even DJs, like if I walk into an event and, you know, somebody's playing on the radio station, shout out to all the DJs on the radio station in a club, just big me up. Like, instead of bigging up the bottle service girl, no disrespect, instead of bigging up, you know, the local that goes there every Friday, like, big up the artists that walk in the building and acknowledge us, because that shows how to treat us so that the audience knows how to treat us, because we don't really have that separation. So if we're walking into like a banquet hall, there's no separate VIP section for artists. So when we walk in amongst everybody else, that person who's like popular in dancehall scene now becomes more popular than an artist who's like playing on the radio. And we kind of lose our status and have to humble ourselves.
Wow.
And I feel like that's where you guys can kind of like, you know, give us a little extra for it, so to speak.
I understand. And I'm learning as you talk. I'm learning as well. And you know,
They got sweat on
there's
before and
ways
back. Pick up yourself.
there's ways that I have to change as well to do more than I do for the artist. And like I said, I've apologized before for making, you know, I had this thing called the Canadian connection, and I realized I was just separating people. I was
Yeah,
separating
absolutely.
them. And,
Absolutely.
and
Like when you guys play our music, you don't have to tell people that we're Canadian. Just
and I
play it.
learned, I learned
Yeah.
that over the course of the years. And so that's why the change has been in me. I don't know about anybody else, but the change has been in me,
Right.
to do more for the homegrown artists and not to separate them. Like I could play a Vibes Cartel, a Massacre, a Swickdon, a Governor, a
Exactly.
Isaac, a Charlie
Exactly.
Black. You don't know the difference. As long as the
Exactly.
production is good, you won't know the
Exactly.
difference. So
And I think as Canadian artists, we've came a long way. Our production is what used to hinder us. Now
100.
we've come a very long way. Like most of us even outsource our stuff to like Jamaica and stuff. So
I,
I feel like our
I,
quality is on the level.
I believe the production has done 360 degree twice.
Right.
You know, honestly, it's just amazing the way I've seen it change. I mean, some still have a little bit to work on,
Yeah.
but there's development that is going berserk. Like I think Tristan Five Star is a superstar. You know, Isis is a superstar. Esco's a superstar. That you know, everybody's doing good things. Tanya P's out there. There's a lot of talent that is just Chelsea Stewart. There's so much talent that's out there. Um, but I find the one thing that holds us down is the mere fact that there's no strong unification in what we do. It's a fight all the way around, and I can't stop it. It's I've tried. I don't know anymore what to do. I've watched I've watched it and I've seen it happen, and I mean we're just getting older, and
Yeah.
we should be getting wiser,
Right.
and we're not. A lot of us are taking up too much stupid times, and I mean, social media is I think it's a big distraction. I
Yeah.
mean, if you don't know how to use it, it is a big distraction. Is something that could hurt you as well as, you know, develop you. Um,
Absolutely.
but you know, anyways, that's just my take of anything.
I think
Um,
a lot of artists feel like I see so many even like up and coming artists that feel like they have to make a name for themselves off of drama. Like they got to find out, um, you know, Alicia Cinnamon's business and tell people about her business, and then they can become a star, so to speak. Like I find like a lot of people use the drama as a way to propel their career,
mhm,
and that's where it becomes the division. Because if I know you're talking crap about me, now I'm not going to be unified with you.
mhm,
Whereas somebody like myself as an artist, like I'm very big on unification, and I I think a lot of the resistance I meet comes from the fact that I'm like in so many different genres. So it's like if I have a problem in hip hop, then it's like if I have a problem in reggae or have a problem in R&B, it looks like I have a problem with most people, but it's because I'm in so many different categories, so to speak. But what I found in all those different categories was the same thing. Like people were using like, I need to make a diss track about this person, or I need to find out this about that person. And that's what they were using to catapult their career. And it's like, if you invested that much time into like writing a dope song, or, you know, finding like building up your followers or something like that, so to speak, then you would propel your career further. So
mhm.
I feel with a lot of us artists, like as much as we can blame the industry, a lot of us artists fall short in the sense that we don't focus enough on our craft. Like a lot of the energy that we invest in is finding out, like going on somebody's Instagram and finding out what they're up to and competing, instead of just saying, okay, I want to drop an EP June 21st. I don't care who else is dropping an EP. I'm not worried about competition. This is what I have to do for myself.
Mhm.
So I think a lot of us have to fall back and check ourselves and be like, what are we doing to catapult our career? Because Toronto is a place where there are a lot of safety nets,
Right.
we can get like grants and all those things. And I've seen a lot of people who won't put out music because they're waiting on a grant. Like, are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll put out my own damn music. If I got to be broke for a couple of months, so to speak. If I got to invest in it, then that's what I got to do. Because when I was in Atlanta, nobody even knew what the hell a grant was. Like, that's a foreign concept to them out there. So I find like a lot of Canadian art, nothing wrong with grants. Shout out to Factor. But I find a lot of Canadian artists become very complacent and they're waiting for certain things to take their career to the next level instead of hustling.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I seen a multitude of shows come. I seen a multitude of shows. Is it the mere fact of, how could I say, people influencing people, why you're not on more shows? Why you
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
it's just
Like, I'll hear stuff about me from people that I've never met a day in my life. And then when they actually meet me, they're like, this girl's mad cool. So, but I'm not a person where I don't beg to fit in. Like, if you're just going to go off of what it is that you heard about me, then to me, like, I know the greatness that I have to offer. I look at it like it's your loss. And I also look at it like it's Canada's loss. Like, if I don't get to the level that I'm supposed to get to, it's Canada's loss, because there's a lot of greatness in what it is that I have to offer that is bigger than just myself. Like, I think I'm a good representation of a real authentic Canadian story. Like, I was born here, I was raised here, I went through the struggle, I've lived in all different parts of Canada. Like, I know what it's like to be a Canadian. And a lot of people think Canada doesn't have its struggle or a story, or so to speak, but there is one. The
mhm,
struggle comes from the fact, especially being like a first generation Canadian, I'm not Caribbean enough, but I'm not white enough. But what the hell is a Black Canadian? So there's that struggle in itself, where it's like, to define my own, this is the music that I grew up on, or this is what I talk like, this is our lingo, this is how we are. We have to like kind of really set that trend, because the ones before us either fell into, I'm going to be like an American, or I'm going to be like a Jamaican. And I think this generation of artists is actually solidifying what it is to be a Canadian musician. So it might take a little bit, maybe the next generation, the Gen Zs, whatever you want to call it, might be the ones to really solidify it. But I just want to make sure that, like, when people look up Canadian music or Canadian musicians, like, my name is a part of history. That's my goal.
trying to be a part of history. That's not a bad goal. It's not a bad goal. Me myself too. I want to be part of
Right.
history too. Why not?
I think
Damn
you
it.
already
Why,
are.
why not?
I
Damn
think you're good.
it. Yeah. Yeah. What do you want as the biggest change for Alicia Cinnamon? What for yourself? What do you think you could do to make the biggest change?
I think my biggest change, like, I'm learning not to take things so personally. Like, I used to get, like, I'm a Scorpio, so I'm a very emotional person.
Mhm.
I take rejection, even though I don't care what people think about me, it still like affects me, because it's like, I know what kind of person I am. So when I hear certain things, it's like, man, like, that really sucks. But at the same speed, it's like, I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. Um, it's something that it's like, okay, how can I represent myself differently so that I don't keep on getting mislabeled? Like, so I think that's the biggest thing within myself. It's becoming more vocal, which is why I chose to do a lot more interviews. Like, I stopped doing interviews for a while. And I said, okay, I'm going to go live, because if I reshare something on social media and I say it's a meme, people read that in the tone that's within their head. So if they're not in a good space and they read something I wrote and like, oh, this girl's angry, this and that, really, it's like, no, that's you. I just reshared it because it's something that I felt other people could reach out, I relate to, or it's something that, I felt as a good message to be put out there. So I realized, it's like, okay, instead of just kind of like having this attitude of let people think whatever they want to think, I kind of like correct certain things and speak on certain things so people can get a little bit more familiar with who I am.
Yeah.
So I think in doing that, hopefully that will kind of change going forward. Like, okay, this girl is not, I think I'm intimidating. And I think that's something that it's a good thing, because it'll keep away, some of the bad-minded people, but it's also a bad thing because it might scare off some people who actually mean well.
Right, right, right. What's your 5-year plan?
My 5-year plan is to get certain people off the panel of certain award shows so I can get my stripes.
Wow.
I'm coming for you.
Wow. People need to exit the panel. Okay.
Yes, they need to
Nothing
get
wrong.
off of it.
It's your plan. There's nothing wrong with
Yeah,
that. There's
yeah.
nothing wrong with that. Wow. Okay.
So
I
that's my goal.
that that's all right. That's all right. Well, okay. So musically, that's the activist kind of side. Musically now, what's the plan for you?
I, musically, I have just I wanted to get back. Like I have a lot of collaborations that are coming out, and I just want to collaborate a lot more with artists. I think I kind of got turned off from my experience in terms of collaborations, but they're hard. Like if you don't have the same vision or marketing plan, the songs can die. And I felt like a lot of my good songs died because of they were collaborations. So I want to get more back into, not even want, I am getting more back into collaborating with artists. Um, my goal is to have my own record label at the end of the day. Like I do, a lot of people don't know this, but I do artist development, I do vocal lessons. So there's a lot of young artists that are coming out through what it is that I do. And eventually I just kind of want to solidify that as a urban record label because we don't have a major one of those in Canada. So if I can be, you know, an A&R, so to speak, of Canada, I feel like that probably is the role that I ultimately will end up going to is A&R because I think I have a pretty good knack for talent.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially what I want to see is that, you know, the Canadian industry is something that people look to. And I my thing for myself is I don't know if I'm going to be a part of that wave because when you're a leader, you kind of get left behind in certain movements. So it's either I'm going to be a star or I'm going to be a leader. So I don't know if they're both going to go hand in hand.
You know, speaking to you, and if people were listening from the beginning of this conversation and understood what you said, because you said all facts. There's nothing, and whatever your opinion is, in my world here in the Wizology Show, your opinion matters, and there's no right or wrong there. It's just your opinion. But why stay? Why stay in Canada with the talent that you have, the smarts that you have, understanding the difficulties that are placed in front of you and that have been placed in front of you? Why stay?
Because I'm not a quitter. I feel like if you could make it in Toronto, you can make it anywhere. And like I've performed in Toronto where I probably have one or two covers, but the majority of my music is original. And when I can see somebody dance to something that I wrote, or even just nod their head or move, like that to me is what I make music for. It's not really about like I don't make music. My music is so like mellowed out that I'm not gonna hear people screaming ah in the middle of my song. They're more or less listening to the lyrics.
Right.
So I'm aware of that. And because so many people have ran from Toronto, like I grew up watching somebody like Julie Black, where Julie Black was very firm. Like I watched all of her interviews growing up, and she's like, I'm not leaving because I want to make a name for this city. So that is something that I took within myself where I know, like I can still go to Atlanta. I mean, first of all, we're stuck in the middle of a pandemic, so there's that.
Yeah.
But when I go over there, that's easy. Like that's baby food. Like I already know my music is gonna be received. I already know the levels that I can get to there. But it's like if we keep on running, then I'm doing the same thing that I'm kind of like holding the people that came before me accountable for. So I feel like I can still go there, fly out there, book my shows, do what it is that I need to do, but still come back and try to make a difference in Canada. Like I'm not gonna limit myself to Canada, which is why most of the songs that I drop, I just send them out there and let them do what it is that they need to do. Mm-hmm. So it's not that I'm limiting myself, but I'm also not running because I feel like we've been running from Toronto for so long. And if you're somebody who's paying attention from the outside looking in, everybody is looking to Toronto right now. So why would I leave when the wave is right here? It's like, if we just hold on for a couple of more years, like if you're in the urban community, so to speak, nobody thought Atlanta was going to be the place to go for music. Like 10 years ago, listening to music from Atlanta was a joke. We couldn't understand them. Like people were making fun of them. Now everybody and their mom is right there. That's the Mecca. Toronto has that potential, but the one thing that Atlanta had was unification. So I kind of don't want to miss out on the Toronto wave because I see that happening here.
Okay. Good. Point well taken. Point well taken. I mean, I've listened to you, and I've understood some of the things you're saying, and it got down to the point is that, okay, a lot of us seem to be fighting for the same thing, but we're fighting individually.
Yeah.
And can you imagine if we fought in a group? You see what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be one more ego than the other. It just has to be a more open communication, understanding each other's position, and who could say what and how they could say it. And there's things just so I just see so much potential here in the city. Hence why I stay.
Right.
Hence why I stay at the station that I'm at, regardless of what people think. It's a station that gave me an opportunity, and I'm loyal to that. So that's why I'm staying where I'm at, right? They fought for me, so it's just
Exactly.
it's just it's just the right thing to do, as far as I'm
Exactly.
concerned. Um,
Well, if you weren't at the station, a lot of us wouldn't get played. That's for damn sure. So.
I mean, there's others there that do their thing, but I mean, there's others there that we just do it. We all just do it differently. That's all. That's the best way to put it for me. Still, you know what I mean? It
No, but going back to the unification, like
yeah.
I just wanted to shout out, like that is why, like I had a conversation with a couple of the members from Foreign Badness, and I was telling them like what they are doing is what Canada needs
I
because
agree.
right, like the unification, like everybody has their time to shine,
Yeah.
and it's time to go. It's time to go. And if you have 10 people that are resharing, okay, you dropped a single, and now there's 10 people that are resharing it. There's strength in numbers.
Well,
So
I
we
don't
need
find no problem with what they're doing,
exactly,
and they have their DJs, they have their people.
exactly,
That there's no fight over here. Still, I mean, I'm sure of myself. I'm very sure
right.
of myself, and I'm sure of my capabilities. You know what I mean? I'm sure of my capabilities. Just like I think you're sure is what you've been saying. You're sure of what you bring to the table. I know what I bring
Right.
to the table. I know me. So whether there's a wave or whatever, I'm like at the cliff. It has to stop sometime, and it either can, has to
Right.
has to meet me. It has to. There's no if
Exactly.
and buts about it. Now, do I accept it with open hands or negativity? I don't do the negativity. I'd rather open hands and see what you bring to the table, because we all
Right.
could eat. And that's just how
Right.
I look at it still. And I think you kind of look at it the same way. I'm hoping that that's what I sense off of you.
Yep.
And maybe people just get the wrong perception of you. And, tonight, I think maybe a lot of people might, be able to turn and take a look at themselves and say, oh, this is not, this is the Alicia
Yeah.
Cinnamon I don't know. I didn't know this Alicia Cinnamon. You see what I'm saying? Because um, it, it, it's facts. When people talk facts and truth, it's a hard thing for a lot of people to intake. You have to understand.
Absolutely.
And before, when they intake it, before they, because every, what is it? Every reaction
A
is
reaction as a reaction.
as a reaction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So every action has a reaction. Um, so I'm hoping people can understand musically from where you come from musically, you know, of your abilities, what you're willing to bring to the table, how you're addressing issues and stuff like that. And so far so good, as as I see it. I mean, I think you're super talented. You are very, 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 very talented. I mean, I've proven it with the songs. I've seen you on shows. I've watched your professionalism, par none. You know what I mean? It's off the hook. Um, so I just think that you should keep doing what you're doing if whatever if whatever you're doing you enjoy it. I think
Right.
you put a strong enjoyment to it, right?
I mean, I know I have areas to grow in. I think for me, it's like I'm doing a lot of stuff with like trial and error. and my whole career kind of started off in the spotlight. Like a lot of people build behind the scenes and
Yeah.
then no, mine was like I for those who don't know, like I started off like I do weddings, funerals, birthday parties, like things like that. So I was very behind the scenes, and then I was asked to sing at a funeral by big up Oh My Sweet Kates. She asked me to sing at one of her friends' funeral, and that's where the song I Can't Breathe came from. After I left that funeral, I went to the studio and I wrote a song, and I asked the family, like, can I preserve his memory? That was in 2013, before Eric Garner passed away in 2014.
Okay.
So when a lot of the stuff that I was doing, it's like I was doing it for different purposes. Like I didn't necessarily look at it like when I redid it on a reggae version in 2017, so to speak, and then it became a movement in 2020, where George Floyd passed away. That's when I started realizing, like, okay, I'm really like, there's something that I have here that I'm kind of overlooking within myself, because I was doing mostly the corporate stuff behind the scenes. And so when people see me, they're like, why does this girl have so much confidence? And it's like, you know, well, I've been doing this, but just not in the spotlight. And then when I came into the spotlight, it was like basically because of that song, it got placed on CBC News. And then they kind of did a write-up as one of the Black Canadians making a difference in the community. And I was kind of like catapulted into the spotlight before I was prepared for it. So a lot of my like mistakes came through like the growing in front of people, where they're expecting like, oh, this big time artist. And I'm like, I don't even know who's in charge of Vibe or how to get my music on radio. Like you said, I bullied you guys into playing my music. Like I used to have to like, I was at Vibe like every weekend. Like
yeah, but you see, to me, that's a good thing. To me, that like I was like, okay, something has to give. I mean, when I first started out, you have to remember, I saw a lot of you artists, but there was bigger, like bigger people than me that kind of pushed me down to say, nah, we're not doing that. And I was like, no, we should, because this is the community. They're like, nah, we got other songs. You see what I'm saying? So when I got my break, it was when it was a chance for me to do what I wanted to do.
Exactly.
And I didn't see, I mean, some could be pretty annoying, but at the same time, you know, at the same time, I understand the need for hunger and the need to be heard and the need to be big. And like I said, you know, you hit the nail on the head. There's always trial and error with everything you start, right? And I mean, I thought what I was doing was a good thing in the beginning with the whole separation, because I'm like, yeah, give them their out. But I'm like, it's just been in the last, you know, 5 or 6 years I understood that, nah, it's artists is artists. I don't want to hear about Canadian artists, Jamaican artists, Trinidadian artists is just artists. It's okay to say where you came from, but how we give you that image. So as a radio disc jockey, as a DJ, I'm taking in what you're saying, I'm listening, and I'm learning as well. Because that's how we achieve. We listen, and then we learn, right? To achieve. And if there's a problem, there could be other people, you know, artists like yourself thinking the same thing, right? And I didn't know. So
I think the majority of us, like, when I think my problem comes in, it's like when you're at work and everybody's complaining about the same thing, and then you have a staff meeting and nobody speaks up.
Nobody says nothing.
Yeah. That's where my issue comes into place, because I'll talk to artists and we all have the same thing. And I'm like, okay, so collectively, like, let's start like an artist union, because we need that. Just like how DJs need, we need one as well to say, okay, if you've been in the industry for this to this time, when you get booked, you're supposed to get, this is the quota or the status quo, whatever you expect to get paid. This is how we expect to get treated. Like, how many of us have like riders and things like that, and standards of, you know, expectations of what we expect from ourselves? Most of us don't. And so if we were to come together, like we have things like Factor or SoCan, we can utilize that and actually say, okay, this is the precedent of how we're supposed to be treated. And we don't do that. So if this person is settling for the bare minimum and you're up here with these high standards, it makes it really difficult to get treated the way that you expect to be treated, because most people are going to go for the person that does bare minimum, because most promoters look at it like when they're putting us on shows that they're doing us a favor. Like they don't look at Canadian artists like I need them, even though like, let's just be realistic. If you're doing a showcase, you can't do a showcase without artists. So obviously you need us. That's what people are coming for.
Yeah.
But when we get there, we're being treated like we're being done a favor, when it's like, well, you can't have music. And I say this with DJs, like anybody who knows me and DJs are always like warring, because I'm like, I can make music without a DJ. A DJ can't play music without artists. Like I can sing a cappella, I can have a live band, all that stuff. But if nobody makes music, DJs have nothing to play. So it's that one hand washes the other, but there's also that respect for, at the end of the day, you need us. And I don't mean you, but I mean in general. And it's like that, again, I grew up, my father's a DJ, and I grew up with watching him have that thrill of breaking new music. And when I go into like a party and I'm seeing, like, again, because I do events, like if I book, I don't book thousands of DJs first and foremost. I'll book 2 or 3, because after 15 DJs on the bill, most of them don't come right in the beginning. Everybody wants to come at prime time. Nobody's listened to what the DJ has played before them. And then you hear the same songs over and over again. So it's like, if you had spaced out your time, took your time coming through, read the crowd, see the audience, you can slip in a one new track. Nobody's going to leave. Like, I feel like a lot of DJs are afraid to break new music. Like, like if I pay $15 to go into the club and you play a new Sample King track, I'm not going to be like, oh, F this ish, I'm walking out. Like, no, I pay my money, I'm going to stay. Yeah. People might not dance right away. Like, I remember the first time I heard Touchdown, and I was like, okay, I didn't know what to do because I never heard the song, but because of the rhythm, we were all kind of like grooving. Right. By the 5th, 6th, 7th time, like I think it was Tasha Roses that actually played it. She pulled it up a couple times, and I was like, yo, this is a big tune. But when I first heard it, if you only played it that one time, it was like, okay, it's just another song, and you keep it moving. Right. So it's that taking the time to not just playing the top 20, the top 10 songs or whatever, but really sitting at home and putting together your playlist and saying, okay, after I play a Cartel song, I'm going to slip in Alicia Cinnamon because it has the same tempo. Like, there's no excuse. Like, you can literally see the beats per minute now and match it up. So it's easy to kind of transition our music in, I personally feel, but it's trying to just get back to the love of, why did you become a DJ? Right. Was it to be popular, or was it because you are passionate about music? And that is something that a lot of people should need to check themselves on.
Wow. Yeah. I remember when I first got the remix that you did on the Beres Hammond thing.
Right.
And I played it on the radio.
Yeah.
And I was like, I remember I played it after I played Beres.
Exactly.
After.
Exactly.
Not before.
As anybody should. Exactly.
Not before.
Right, exactly.
And I'll never forget, because I believed you messaged me or you called me. I can't remember exactly. It's years ago. But you were like, somebody finally played it the right way. Yeah. Thank you.
Exactly. Yeah, I remember that. Right? Yeah.
And it's because I was like, well, why am I playing it first to get rid of it? It's wicked. So it should come after as it flows. Everybody knows this song already. We need to break this song. So this song we're breaking. So I was like, and that call took me back, and I was like, what do you mean? Everybody should know how to play it. Like, we had that conversation, and it was like, she's like, nah, people either play it off to the side, or they won't play it at all, or they'll play it.
A lot only play the dub plate version. And that's another thing that DJs need to understand. It's like, we are grateful just to hear ourselves on the music, but dub plates are a personal thing for DJs. Like, I don't benefit, unless you're a radio DJ, I don't benefit from somebody playing my dub plate in the club, especially if nobody knows the original song. Like, a lot of people be like, yo, give me a dub plate for this. And I'm like, how about you play the song first? Like, I just went to the studio, spent how much money to make this song, and then you want me to go back and remix it just for you. Yeah. And nobody had heard the original first. So it's like, play the original, let the original buzz, and then the dub plate comes afterwards. Because I'm gonna just say it, Toronto DJs, a lot of them don't like paying for dub plates, and a lot of them want to hold on to our stuff for when we make it. And then they can say, yeah, man, they had so-and-so's dub plate from 1992 and da-da-da-da, but I didn't pay us a penny. Like, that's where it is. So it's like, if you're not gonna pay us, at least play it. At
Okay.
least play the music and then get the dub plate. So I think that is where, and I get it because I've listened to people roar over my dub plates like, yo, Bridget, I could tell she wasn't feeling you because she didn't sing that song with passion. And I'm like, really? Like, I kind of feel insulted because I thought I did.
I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. I'm going to have to, get to the dub plate section of this. But
Yeah, okay.
it,
Play us first and then play the dub plates.
you know what I mean? Know what I mean? You know, let me ask you, do you feel that at this point, with all the talent that you bestow, and there's others as well with the talent that you have, the brains, the know-how, what you've been through, the works and the music. Do you feel that just because there's a female perspective, it's harder?
Absolutely. I think another part of the reason why I am so outspoken is because a lot of people, they just see me, oh, she's a pretty girl, and just kind of like everybody and their mom is like finding a pretty girl and just throwing her into the spotlight and calling her an artist. And they don't really like, a lot of these girls don't want to be artists, so they don't care about if they don't write their own music or book their own shows or any of that stuff. And because for me, like, that is like, this is like my 365. Like, I've had people where I've done songs with them and they already, like collaborations, for example, and they've already had my verse written. And I was like, no, we don't do that. And they were surprised, like, oh, okay. And then I would rewrite my verse and it's better than what they were going to give me because they were just like, oh, she's pretty, just give her whatever. As long as it comes out of her throat, that's all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
So I think kind of getting that respect, like people, like I said in the beginning, if I were to just like shut up and be pretty and, put on sexy outfits and jump across the stage, I would be a lot further ahead. If I were to sleep with certain people, I would be a lot further ahead. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's like, because I understand what it is that I bring to the table, I resist a lot of the easier routes. So I look like a female, but I act like a man. Like, I used to hear from a lot of people like, oh, you think you can do what men can do? And I never really understood what that meant until I started getting that like book back where it's like, okay, if she wants to go on like a dude, we're going to treat her like a dude. When really I was just like, well, like, I don't know any other way to be. So I don't necessarily know if my struggle, like I know other females go through a lot of the stuff that I go through, but because I'm so assertive, I think my personal struggle might be a little bit more difficult than a lot of females because I choose to take the hard road, if that makes sense.
Yeah, understood. I'm not going to keep you much longer, but I'm so in tune to what you're saying and understanding of what you're saying still. Tell me a little bit about your activist side. What is, I mean, what does that take to maintain? Because that's a very powerful, any form of activist movement is a stronghold. It's mind-boggling at times, and it could be quite stressful.
It's stressful in the sense that like my whole platform for the most part is dedicated to the Black community, but I'll have people tell me that I'm anti-Black. And I think that's where the hardest part for me is. It's like the same people that I'm fighting for, I'm meeting the resistance with. So, and then I still have to get the resistance of like the white people, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I have to like center myself and ask myself, like, what am I fighting for? And is it worth it? But then I'll like get a message from somebody that is like, yo, sis, like I saw your interview, or I was listening to, like, I'll give a perfect example. I Can't Breathe. I sang that song and then had Tyson's family members come up to me and be like, that was my cousin that you were singing about. And like, that really reached my heart. Mm-hmm. So when that happened on multiple occasions, or like people coming to me and just saying like, I've lost somebody to gun violence, that made me realize, like, I know it's easy. Like, I have my party tunes, don't get it twisted, but I know it's easy to write songs that are going to make people turn up. Mm-hmm. But I also know that there are more people that are going through life that, those difficult times, so to speak, that don't have an outlet to talk about this. Mm-hmm. And then particularly coming from the Black or the Caribbean community, we're not big on therapy or counseling or any of that stuff. So a lot of the therapy comes from the music. So when I make, like when I made my EP, for example, I was like, I want to make an album that people can, when you're cleaning your house, you can turn on the music and you don't have to like skip any of the songs. You can go to your regular playlist and turn up all you want to, but I like, music is like, it's energy, and people don't realize what you're taking in affects your day. So I could listen to like, I can't listen to like hardcore dancehall before I have to leave my house because it'll make me like feel like I'm a bad girl and want to fight people. It's like heavy metal. Like there's certain, it changes your energy. So I gotta listen to like my R&B if I'm going to a meeting or stuff like that.
Yeah,
So I try to be very cautious of how I can change people's energy
right.
throughout my music. So I think that the extra role that I play, just taking on that responsibility and accountability, I think that's what makes it difficult. And then if people don't see that, like again, a lot of people don't see the behind the scenes. So if I like put blood, sweat, and tears in a song, like for example, The Revolution has been televised, and then I have people that knock it off, not really about the culture, not really giving a damn about the message, but they just know it's something that's going to sell. That's where it bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, that's where I need my fans and the DJs and stuff to say, okay, this is somebody who's been talking about this stuff, and keep playing it, because those people are going to fade away. People that are not about the real, they're going to go back to the party and stuff when all this Black Lives Matter stops trending and all the free money goes away. Mm-hmm. But somebody like myself is going to keep on doing it. So it's just really having the people that are in a position to get the message out there, like working with me.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Listen, I'm truly impressed in your movements and your thought process. I think that, you know, there's, like I said, I'm a little saddened at the fact that there's a lot of us that feel the same way, and we're not clicking together because we're all kind of barking up the same tree.
Yeah.
And if instead of each of us trying to fight solo, maybe if we just stuck our guns and showed a united front, they take a listen. Like I said, I mean, we could be on here. We're not bashing any awards or any things, but we're calling for change. I think there needs
I
to
mean,
be.
they have to. Like, we don't talk about these things and then we're wondering why nothing has changed. Like, we need to. I personally said, like, I wanted to speak about this, but I didn't want to come across as like a hater or bitter. Mm-hmm. So I said, I want to wait until after so that it doesn't take away from other people. But it definitely needs to be spoken about.
I think that's a major problem that we're having, is that we're not speaking.
Yeah.
We're not
Absolutely.
standing and willing to suffer the consequences. I mean, if Martin Luther didn't march, if
exactly.
Rosa Parks didn't sit, if
exactly.
we could be the ifs and ifs and ifs and ifs and ifs and ifs forever. It's the hard time now is that Martin, Malcolm, and when Rosa sat, they had a lot of unified people around them. They did.
Exactly.
They did.
Exactly.
Nobody should not deny that. They had people around them, or you wouldn't have Million Doggone Man March. That is what you call unification. That is what you call support. And I'm telling you, and I understand what you said when I see a lot of people are doing too much. And I mean, this COVID thing, I've seen people who should be concentrating on this, they're doing this.
Yeah.
People who should be concentrating on that, they're doing this. It's what it is. And I think one of the biggest things I have, though, with our artists here is that if they love their music so much, they need to invest in themselves a little bit more. That is what my biggest thing is. The investment in yourself should be nothing, because, you know, we know what takes place if you have to go out of town. We already know that. But you could stay here and generate that with the people that you need.
Exactly.
You need the people here. So, you know, like, I'm a big fighter for Canada. and this genre of music. I'm a super huge fighter for this genre of music. Um,
Mm,
I am blessed to have a platform that's recognized around the world. And I could say
mm,
that proudly because I have world people. It doesn't matter. I keep telling them about the numbers game. I don't watch that because it's not real. What is real is
it's true.
who I'm talking
Exactly.
to, is
Exactly.
who gets this message. That's what's real. Who's here is what's real.
Exactly.
The number
Yeah.
game doesn't matter if you could have 200 people on your line on your live,
Yeah.
but is it effective?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So my
Hmm.
that's my situation. So my thing
Yeah.
is this is that, you know, if you seem to have your head on your shoulders, and what I'm hoping for after people watch this and realize is that they now see Alicia Cinnamon. They
Right.
now understand Alicia Cinnamon. And that's
Right.
a big difference. Knowing somebody and understanding them is a
Right.
big, big, big difference. So
Mm.
I'm hoping musically, your music career, that's what's important to me. Your personal
Yeah.
business is not my business. I care
Yeah.
zero. This is actual music because the reason I have to be involved in your music business is because I need you just as much as you need me,
Right.
right? And I need every artist just as much as every artist needs me. So
Right.
if we're generating the great vibes from each other, and I'm talking every artist, right? It's if you're bigging up Wiz and Wiz is bigging up Alicia, Uncle Johnny is bigging up Wiz, Wiz is bigging up Uncle Johnny, Swick Don is bigging up Wiz, Wiz is bigging up Swick Don. It's showing them the world that this is a clique. This is the
Yeah.
country. Don't
Yeah.
violate one of us because you're going to deal with
Exactly.
all of us, right?
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. It's like when you go to other places, like for example, whenever I'm in Atlanta and I say I'm from Toronto, the first thing they do is play a Drake track. And
Yeah,
if you say anything negative about Drake out there, they look at you sideways because they're like, well, he's the one that's putting on for your country right now. Who
yeah,
are you? And
yeah.
why are you not going with him? Not to say that we gotta kiss his ass or
Right.
whatever, but
Big him
it's
up.
the unification. Exactly.
It is what
Like
it
you
is. He's
have to
from
get
here.
it. Like, exactly. And it's like, I'm not looking to ride the Drake's wave, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, he's whack, or I used to go to
I
school
mean,
with him and this and that. And that's the problem with a lot of people in Toronto. It's like, oh, I used to go to school with that person and beat them up or this or that. It's like, nobody cares. Like, if you are still living in those glory days, those Al Bundy days of your 4 touchdowns, like, nobody cares about
nobody
that.
cares
Because
about
what
those
have you done
touchdowns.
lately?
But they seem to forget though. I think Al lost that game.
Yeah, he did. But
Al
all he
lost the
remembers
game.
is the 4 touchdowns.
All you remember is the 4 touch. You don't forget. Al lost the game.
Yeah.
So
And
I'm
he
just
never played again after.
so
Nothing ever came from
listen.
it.
I'm bigging up those clicks. I mean, I'm bigging up those artists. Artists try and link me. I mean, I know I'm very bad on getting back in my DMs and stuff. And sometimes I just give social media a break. Sometimes I just ease back because if you don't understand it and know how to cruise it, you'll get taken aback like you want these numbers
Exactly.
every day. Now, I'm good with the people that are here. I have a solid set of 20 or 30 people that are here with me day in, day out. I'm good with them. Sometimes we
But
get
what people
300.
don't realize is like people might not watch it right now,
Ah,
but
but yeah,
after the
yeah,
fact. And that's what I pay attention to. Like I go live all the time. Sometimes it'll just be me and 1 or 2 people from India.
but
And they're
you know what I
and
mean?
when I'm finished and I go back and I watch the views, it's like, okay, now people have time to take it in. So I just personally believe like,
It's
especially
good.
it's like continuous, like even like with what my music, like you said, I have a lot of singles. I just put things out there. At some point in time, it's gonna pick up. And the more you put out there, like I do sales. I was very big like in like growing up doing like the door-to-door sales and all that stuff. And the one thing that we learned is every no brings you closer to the yes that you need. So if you talk to 10 people, of those 10 people, 9 of those people are going to tell you no, but 1 is going to tell you yes. And it's only that 1 yes that you actually need. So
Wait,
the more you put out,
you're okay with having those singles out there, putting out singles?
yeah,
Yeah, see,
because
this is where we argue now. This is where we differ.
right,
Because I'm like, if you have, okay, I'll give you my point and
yeah,
then I'll listen to your point. My
okay,
point is if you have a good song, okay,
yeah,
and you put the energy in it. I understand albums. I
yeah,
understand that there are X amount of songs. I understand you have these singles, but every week, dog,
yeah.
man, a new song. How does the how do I get comfortable, and how does the world get comfortable with you? They could hear your name a million times, but you know,
Because I think because your mind is still like when artists got signed to a record label, they invested in like, okay, we're gonna do a video for this single. So the single came out first, and then there was like maybe 6 months to a year of promo, and then the music video came out after that, and then you got to promote that, and then you could do like a tour. So by the time you finish promoting maybe one single, like I would say 10 to 15 years ago, you had a good like year or two to invest in it. We don't have that time right now. Like TikTok, for example, most songs like if you listen to like uh, again, I'll go into my R&B route. If you listen to a Boyz II Men or R. Kelly track, God forbid, those are like 5-10 minutes long. You can't do that in this day and age. Like my last music video was 6 minutes long. And when I look at my analytics, I'm actually flabbergasted that people watched it to the end because most people only watch like the first minute, the first 30 seconds have to rope you in. But after the first minute and a half, they're gone about their business.
mhm.
So what's the point in me dragging on an extra 3 or 4 minutes or an extra 3 or 4 verses? So it's the same thing with the songs. Like right now we're in like a TikTok era where these kids like Megan Thee Stallion and stuff like that, these people are making like songs overnight and getting viral overnight, 300,000-400,000 followers off of like a 10-second song. How do you compete with that if you're here promoting this one song for like 2 years that may never pick up?
So what's getting big? The little 10-second snippet, just the name, or is it the actual song?
It for the most part right now it's dancing. Like if you can get like one of those TikTok sensations to do a little,
Dance for you?
and then all of a sudden your song is viral. So you like I still make music in the sense like I've learned how to kind of like fit in with a little bit of everything. Like I've learned, okay, I got to figure out TikTok, which is why I decided to go back to school for the social media marketing. So I
Mm-hmm.
got to figure out these new TikToks and whatever it is, the Spotify, so to speak, and all their algorithms. But then also just making sure like I still have music that is of substance that you can listen to for 3 or 4 minutes that actually is going to like, be one of those timeless songs. A lot of what we're going through right now, these songs are not like timeless, like they're trends. We're not going to listen to think about a lot of these songs in 5-10 years from now. A lot of art, like people are going to hate me for this. I always say this about Rihanna. I love Rihanna like cook food, but a lot of her music was for that specific time frame where like nobody really plays Umbrella right now. Like we don't, like it's not the way that you would play like Luther Vandross, The Closer I Get to You. So a lot of
Well,
people are just
souls
riding.
always outshines hip hop. Souls
Right,
always outshines hip hop. I
right.
get it. But you do have some classic Nas, some classic Jay-Z,
Exactly.
some
But
DMX.
when you look at like, for example, like a Nas or like If I Rule the World, that is something you can play at any
Forever,
point in time.
forever.
But then something like a little Nas X,
Nah,
you might not want to pay attention to that guy in like two or
nah.
3 years. Not to discredit his talent, but those are trending stuff. So it's being able to fit in with the trends right now and understanding, okay, I got to get trending music. So I got to I got to keep up with all the other artists that are
Is
out.
is that amounting to dollar sales, you think?
Yes, if you, because right now, like Spotify and like DistroKid and all those stuff are acting like record labels. So right now, like there's artists like I believe his name is Russ. There's a few artists that put out songs every week, and every week once they put out songs after like maybe the first like 6 months, they started like becoming like getting like hundreds of thousands of dollars off of it because it streams. As long as you're putting stuff out there, even if you put it like for YouTube, even if you're getting a penny a day, that's still a penny more than you're not getting if you
Yeah,
weren't
yeah.
doing anything. So that's how I look at it.
And you think this works for all genres of music?
No. I just think it works for all artists if you want to remain relevant. And for me, like, I don't necessarily, like, as much singles as I have out, a lot of them is because people are just now hearing about them. Like, if you look at the date on some of them, they're older to me, but they're just now reaching radio stations or whatever. So what I've done, again, this is where ownership is everything. I can remix some of my songs like over and over. I'll sample myself. It's like, okay, this song didn't get enough traction. Now people are paying attention to me. I'm going to go back in the booth and redo it and put it out as a new track over a new beat or a new rhythm or whatever the case may be. Because like in the beginning, I sampled a lot of stuff off of like industry beats. I didn't own the beats, right, but they were lyrics. So now it's like for example, like with I Can't Breathe, and I took it and I was like, okay, I can put it on an original beat now and it belongs to me. And now it fits the time frame. So I feel any artist, most of our money, 90% of our money comes from touring, but we're not touring right now. So we have to figure out other ways to engage. And I always say this to people, like our music, for the most part, it's like a thank you right now. Like when we put it on Spotify, it's not really, unless you have like thousands of followers, you're not getting rich off of Spotify. It's the merch and the other stuff. Like people are buying into your personality, whether it's you have a YouTube channel or you're selling t-shirts or whatever. That's where the money is coming from, is the merch. The music is kind of like a thank you for rocking with me at this point until everything opens back up and we can perform again.
You see, because the reason I ask and the reason I say, and I asked you a question and you answered it correctly, because there's certain things that work for certain genres that don't work for,
right.
I'll stick to the genre that I love, which is reggae.
Right.
I don't believe the majority can make it through the TikTok era like how it's going. I might be able to net pick maybe one and two artists that could probably, like a Ding Dong for sure would probably be able to secure a little bit from this TikTok because he's the dancing type, the bouncy type, the hype type. Maybe a Popcorn, maybe, and that's very rare. I don't think so. But you know, we have to be careful because this, and that's why I said in the very beginning, we've been talking for almost 2 hours. In the very beginning, is there a lane for Alicia Cinnamon because you're so versatile? But
that's why I don't box myself in, because if I do want to fit in the TikTok realm, I can't do that with like a I Can't Breathe. That's when I have to do the pop or the hip hop or the trap or whatever. So I don't. I'll say this, for me, where I learned that is, I don't know if you remember when Spice was performing at like, it was like a corporate function. I think like Usain Bolt and the Prime Minister and all of them were there, and she performed, I think, Indicator, and they cut off her music because everybody was like, oh my God, this is so inappropriate for the time and the place. And that's something that stuck with me, where I was like, I gotta have music for every single event. Because I can't afford for that to happen to me. Not to say like, you know, it's Spice, you know what you're booking her for, you should expect that. But at the same speed as an artist, I'm like, I don't ever want to be in a position where I feel like my music.
He has to also understand their crowd. You have to understand their crowd, right? And this is why I always state with artists, why are you putting out the explicit version more than anything? I keep asking them, they keep dinging, they think it's cool, they think that they cuss bad, and they think I'm holding them back because I'm the radio DJ, but I'm saying, nah, bro, you're gonna want your music played everywhere. Now with YouTube, even with YouTube, for the life of me, I don't understand, especially with YouTube and social media. I'm like, why are you not putting out on the videos the non-explicit? Because now if parents have their kids watching the videos, they're not going to turn it off, they're not going to shut it down, they're not going to say don't listen to that guy, they're going to say, oh, you can listen to that's clean music or whatever. Or even if you have the bad words, keep it to the album, keep it to after you get the sale.
That's where those TikTok artists flourish, because if you listen to a lot of these songs, kids really should not be TikToking to majority of those TikTok songs. But because there's so much innuendos and the wording is a clean version technically, you can still let your kids listen to it until you really take in the lyrics and realize like, wow, this guy's talking about killing somebody. Yeah. Whereas in dancehall, they're flat out telling you, I chop you up and this and that. So you know, like, okay, no, little Tyrone can't listen to that. I feel like to me personally, dancehall sleeps on itself a lot. And this is where I get frustrated with dancehall. When I look at girls that are jumping from speaker box who should be in gymnastics, when I look at artists who dancehall should be dominating TikTok because it's dancehall.
Big time. Dancehall should dominate everywhere.
Everything. But in terms of dancing, that's where all the dances come from, essentially. So why are they not capitalizing off that? Where I find dancehall falls short is most of the people in dancehall are more invested in the hype and the mix-up and how it looks and the presentation. You could be broke flat on your face, but you want everybody to still think you're rich instead of actually getting that money. Mm-hmm. And that's where we fall short in the sense where dancehall, until we get away from the persona of like trying to impress people who aren't even impressed with themselves and break out of that, then we can start capitalizing it. Because I think even when you look at reggae, the #1 reggae album is still Bob Marley's, and I think he only sold like 1,000 copies. So that kind of
at first, he only sold 1,100, I think it was at first.
So, and that's still the #1 album. So it's like with all the artists that have came there after that, with all this music that has come after, how come there's not more sales in that? And it's because we're so focused on the wrong stuff, and then we give away our stuff for free. We have all these Russian people coming and taking our dances and bringing them back and making money off of it. Yeah. So I believe if dancehall figures out how to deal with the business aspect, potential-wise and creativity-wise, and even just understanding, you know, the whole, we're unified, but we're not. But when we're unified, we're unified.
When we're unified, it's good.
Right. If we were to get on that wavelength, I think we would be able to dominate like the industry, period. So I think that is where my frustration comes from, that urban music should be dominating because everybody listens to us.
Here is a question I'm going to answer that I finally got through from True Ace. Big up True Ace. The reason that the conception is always of this, and I answer this all the time with this double-edged sword stuff, and which people like the dirty version? That is my question to you. Which people? Right. Is it the people that are getting your music for free? The people that are not buying it? That people? So this is where I'm trying to get to the thought process of this exact statement that people want to listen to the dirty version. Which people? Right. Because the people that hear your clean music that said, oh, I want this artist, listen, and I want to hear more of it because they think they're the ones that are going to buy your music. Yeah. So which people? That's what you have to ask yourself. Number one, which people want? Is it your brethrens that jump up and down? Say, yo, every song is wicked? The people? Are they paying for it? If they are, then let me know. You could prove me wrong. But I need to know which people first. That, and you know, maybe I'll talk to Trace and find out. Maybe he knows which people, because the people that I know. Again,
because people, especially like if you're talking in terms of dancehall, because the culture has like, when you tell people to clean up dance, everybody, oh, that's the culture and that's it and that's that. And I totally get it, but it's like, if you want to elevate to the next level, you can't remain like hip hop, for example, used to be very underground, but now it's the #1 genre that it sold rock and everything for the past like 4 years. So it's like, if you want to elevate to a corporate level or a professional level, I personally am like, I don't have any dirty versions of my music. People always tell me like, make sure you send the clean version. I'm like, that's all I have. Because I'm not going to go waste my time to go re-record and go make another version of it. I think wording is very important. A lot of people are lazy with their wording. Like, I read the dictionary and thesaurus. If you take the time and you look in the thesaurus, you can find another word to express what it is that you want to say. So not to say that some songs, like if it's a mixtape and it's underground and you want to talk about, chopping up a man, that's fine. But I find it more intriguing when people use innuendos where like Jay-Z, somebody like Jay-Z, it's like you got to like open up a book and read certain things to kind of figure out like, wow, that's what he meant when he put this together. Like wordplay. And a lot of people are lazy with their wordplay.
I agree. I mean, listen, I fought for this genre of music because this genre of music to me made me travel the world. So there's something good about it. Doggone it. It's I don't know a party, a wedding, whether you're black, white, Indian, Chinese, African American, African Canadian, doesn't matter. Some form of reggae has to play. Some form.
Right.
It has to. I mean, unless your culture directly doesn't, deal with it, I haven't seen yet. Even in Jordan, Charlie Black is humongous. He's like
right.
a kingpin out there. So I fought for, but like I said, which people, it's about that because, I mean, I don't know. You see so much and it's just not working. That way it was not working. It's not working. Again,
what is your expectation of us as artists, as like for you as a DJ? Like, what do you feel some things that we're doing as artists falling short, that is missing to get to the next level?
Well, there's a couple. One, the investment in yourselves. Here in your home, like in your country, I find that people don't want to invest. They expect. They don't want to invest in themselves, in advertising, in getting their music out there. That's number one. Two is the mere fact of, and I'll stick to reggae. Reggae is most artists concentrate themselves in the club, in the dance hall. They want to get their stuff played on the radio, but they think that what plays in the club, because everybody goes berserk and remember, you're in the dance hall. You have a span of trying to pull up, wheel, pull up again. This radio, if a proper radio station is, you have your 2 minutes. Bam, your song comes on. Radio is not about mixing and that's not how people atone in their cars to radio. I mean, sometimes you could get away with it. Friday night, you picked a certain times. You have a Friday night mix down and this and that, but daytime, people are in their office buildings, they're in their stores, they're in their this. I mean, I got into a couple stores sometimes and been able to them to turn on the radio in the malls and stuff like that. But for what they wanted, I had to make a special mix for them, right? But radio is about listening to the song. So, and then again, I think probably the biggest thing for me is ego, which steps into the way of you bring a song.
Big up Sample King.
You've already Sample King is here?
Yeah.
Yeah, tell him I'm not speaking to him because I'm not speaking to him. No, because I sometimes I call him man and he don't answer. That is my brethren.
You gotta catch him when you can.
Yeah, that is my brethren right there. That is, love that man. A good man. Love him. Good man. And I think you go to the studio.
Yeah.
And you mix and you master your song because your friends said it was great. Right? Now it comes to, I'm going to use myself because I'm on the live. It comes to me and I listen to it and I'm like, what is this? This is not, this shouldn't be like this. This shouldn't be like that. Because you've already done the mixing and mastering and you've already done what you have to do, you don't want to change it. So you're
Yeah.
gonna now force
Right.
my hand to say, all right, this is what it is. Play it. Nah,
Right.
Wiz doesn't get forced.
Yes, we know that.
Nobody forces Wiz. Nobody.
I
And
think a lot of artists, like I remember my EP, I mastered it twice because I was told like no. So I went back and I redid it. And that's something that you have to be prepared for is that constructive criticism. Like I now when I get a song and my producer is like, I'm like a blessing and a curse. Like when I get into the studio, I'm the easiest person to work with. Like my stuff, I'll probably do everything in like 1 or 2 takes and I'm
right,
good to go.
right.
But when you get to the final version now, I listen to that stuff that through like 50 different speakers, headphones, this, that, whatever, whatever,
Yeah,
so that I can hear before you go and take it and master. And so a lot of people, they just, oh yeah, man, that's good. And their brother said it was good. And then they leave. Like, I don't really go to the studio with people. I go by myself so that I don't have those outside people kind of like gassing up my head. And then I say, okay, give it to me. Anything I do in the studio, give it to me raw. Let me go home and listen to it because I might want to tweak something.
yeah,
Listen to it about 50, 60 times. And then I can say, okay, go ahead and mix and master it. So I
yeah.
think a lot of people rush the process, so to
But
speak.
I would hope that you have somebody else with a listening ear. You know, if they have the
I send it to an engineer.
yeah,
Like I think because a lot of people, the same person that makes the beat also likes to mix and master and all that stuff. And sometimes you have to take it away from that person because when I would have somebody do that, because they're critiquing themselves, it's like I went in and I sang the song with this rhythm. By the time I got it back, the
yeah,
rhythm was totally different. So I'm like, okay, take your ear off of it because when you listen to it so many times, it sounds like you might miss out on certain things because your ear becomes numb to it.
yeah,
So I'll take it to someone else. Most like I have like producers in Jamaica that will tell me like this is trash. Like
yeah,
those are the people that I want to hear it from. The sticklers will all say, okay, listen to this and tell me what you feel. And then if I even get a okay, that can go on. To me, from them, that means like that's a big two.
yeah,
If they're like, they'll tell me flat out like this is no, don't even bother waste your money on this or whatever. Go and redo it again. So
yeah,
I think taking yourself away from it and not taking it personally, that if somebody tells you you can have a good song but it might just be missing a little thing. And I've had like literally where I went back to the studio and just maybe did some ad-libs and that took the song up to a totally different dimension.
yeah, yeah.
So just be open to the feedback.
Straight up. Listen, Alicia, I have to thank you for appearing on this show tonight. I have to thank you for just your professionalism and you know what you've doing. I really appreciate it. I think that, um, you're on the right track.
Thank you.
It is what it is, man. It is just it's hard. I can't lie to you. It's probably going to get harder.
I just need a Sample King feature
So,
and I'll be good.
yo, that guy, listen, man, that guy is one of the best artists to work with. He's
Absolutely. I tell
so
that all
down
the
to
time.
earth.
Absolutely.
One of the best.
Yeah,
He's so down
absolutely.
to earth. And listen, if he says he's going to do something, believe you me, he'll get it done. 100.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
I have a couple ideas that I'm thinking and I'm going to launch and I want to get, a lot of things. But the problem is I see so much potential in so much people, but it's not on the road that they're on. And it's trying to
Right.
get them to understand this is the road that you might have to take. You know what I mean? That like there's so much potential I see in this city that that can elevate this city if they're only willing to listen, if they're only willing to learn, if they're only willing to see, Big shout outs to Glamaton from the Cayman Islands. He's a big artist from the Cayman Islands out there. Um,
Yeah.
but listen, it's we've learned a lot here tonight. And I think that when people go back, and I said it earlier and I'll say it again, when people go back and watch this, I'm hoping that they could understand where you are musically. musically. That's what we're focused on here, musically. Anything else is not my business. So music is what it is what's happening here. And musically, I think you know, sky's the limit. I mean, because honestly, I'm gonna rejuvenate. That reminds me. I'm not changing nothing. I don't need to voice nothing because I like it the way it
I
is,
love it. Yeah,
and it is a hit. I'm
it
telling
is.
you. So I'm pushing it. Whether they want to fight it or not, it's going to play. It must
I think
play.
it was just so unexpected. And that's what it is with me because I don't tell people who I'm working with, like
Right.
the project's just going to come out.
Yeah.
And then people are like, who the hell did they know each other? So it takes a minute for people to even get it in their brain
This is wicked.
before, yeah.
So
But it reminds me is like on my playlist, especially in the summertime, like I was at Woodbine Beach and I had my big old speakers and I was bumping it at the beach and people were loving it.
yeah.
And they don't know it's me. They're just thinking like, yeah, you know, we're in Jamaica. Like,
how could people
big up Uncle Daddy.
how could people get to your music? How could people get to you to take you in to listen?
All you got to do is Google Alicia Cinnamon. I have a website, www.aliciacinnamon.com, but pretty much I am on every single social media platform, every streaming platform as Alicia Cinnamon. So just pick your favorite streaming platform and download my music.
Find Alicia Cinnamon, and that's another thing too. Is it's like we gotta support. We gotta go through the iTunes and buy it
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So
Please stop asking me to email you my songs. Just go on Spotify and download it like you get the penny.
you know, listen, it's just been a pleasure. It's been an honor. I really thank you, Alicia Cinnamon, for appearing here on Wizology Show. You know, it's good conversing with people in the industry and seeing different angles and seeing different, you know, outlets of how this music genre has come in. I think Canada, we've come a long way. We have a long way to go, but I think we have really come a long way. I mean, you know, I'm all for that reggae genre. You're for the vibe genre. I'll give you the vibe genre. You have the vibe genre because it's so versatile. But honestly, we've come a long way, and I think,
Melanie Durant.
yeah. Oh, Melanie Durant.
Right?
That is another secret weapon of mine. I have a secret weapon. Beneath his, there's a next.
I love Melanie. She's such a blessed spirit.
You listen. I'm just gonna put Melanie on blast. I have been dying for that Bang Bang special. Dying. Listen, Melanie, please. I'm gonna talk to Melanie. I'm gonna have to talk to Melanie. Yo, if people people try to underestimate Toronto, Canada with a singer and R&B, hip hop, or souls or what, Melanie Durant, I put her up there against anybody.
I still have her baseball card. Like I don't remember if you remember, like Freddie Faye was making those cards. I still have the Melanie Durant.
Keep it and frame it. Melanie Durant. People, Google her. Go Google Melanie Durant. I'm telling you, I'm a fan. I'm a fan. I am a fan. I will defend Melanie with like I defend the reggae culture. Crazily. Straight up. But Alicia, listen, thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you. Much respect. I'm sure we'll be working together down the road. I'm sure of it. You know, hopefully God spare our lives. And it's about the music. It's the music, and it's about good music. You know what I mean? So that's what I think. Anything you want to say to the people, to the world, right now?
I guess before I go, my question for you is, what advice can you give me based on from the outside looking in? What are some things that you can give to me in the sense that maybe you might see me doing wrong?
I personally think you have a lot of outside distractions that maintain a forefront in your mind that stops you from you give your music 98%, and
Right.
you take that 2% into a majority of outside of
Right.
thing. I think
Right.
the outside distractions and you may also have to limit yourself of your versatility.
Mm. Mm.
Reason being because, again, people need to situate in something. They need to situate you in something. So if it's the R&B, if it's the hip hop, it's the soul. You're
Mm.
not really, you could do reggae, but you're not really
Right.
reggae. Like
Right.
I I could put you on a reggae show because
Right.
you know how to rock it. You can.
Right.
But I think you're also able to give them that soul, that R&B type flair, right? You know
Mm.
what I mean? Um,
Right.
you know, is I and that's those are some small things that you could just work on, because the bigger picture is the bigger picture down the road is Alicia Cinnamon, is your career, right?
Right.
So
So those small things matter. So
it it,
I'm
it
always open to
it's just
feedback.
it's I think it's just small. It's small, and I
Mhm.
understand that. But if I can't tell you that everything's perfect, right?
Right. No, and that's what I'm saying. Like those small things, like the small things to tweak on, those make a difference.
Yeah.
No matter how small it is, it matters. So I'm always open for the feedback. I
Right.
appreciate that.
Right.
Something to
Right.
look at.
Right. Right.
And I hear that the versatility, it's like a blessing and a curse. So yeah, I get where you're coming from.
Right. And
Absolutely.
and I mean, like, it's weird because I figured I'm on the interview now. I guess I'm getting interviewed, so like, so I'm like, wow, okay. But I'll answer it. I ain't shying from it.
It promoted me.
I ain't shying from it. I ain't backing down from it. But I just,
No, but I mean, like, it's a lot of people will say what they feel about me behind my back, but won't tell me to my face,
well,
thinking that I'm not open to change. And it's like maybe I'm not aware of some of the stuff that I'm
like,
doing.
like I said, and we said this earlier, if we don't speak, if we don't say anything, it's it's left behind your back and you don't know, right?
Right.
And I just think that, you know, it's like, and I'm thinking personally.
Yeah.
And when I think personally, it's like, how could I say? I'll use earlier on when you thought like we may have had a disagreement, but I don't think we've ever exchanged any heartfelt.
Not a disagreement. I just kind of felt like you loosed off of me for a little bit.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but you didn't call me or talk to me, like, and I was like, I'm like, okay, I didn't think nothing of
You're
it.
hard to reach, and you're
Yeah,
not an easy person to talk to,
no, I'm not,
except for
but
now. This is very easy.
you
So
know,
I was like, I take you where I'm like, you know what? I don't like rubbing Wiz the wrong way. So I kind of wait until you are ready to receive me with your energy. And then I'm like, okay, Wiz, hit me up. Now I'll talk to him.
yeah, but I mean, yeah, I come off with the thing, but just like, people misinterpret me. Like,
Right.
I may, because
Absolutely.
I don't do the whole smiling thing. It's like, my workplace. I love everybody at the workplace, but that's us at the workplace. When we go, that's it. Um, don't call me. I'm not your friend. Like,
Yeah.
we're at work and we do work. That's what I'm there to do. I do my work and I go home. I don't trouble nobody. I don't bother nobody. I don't this. But I'm easy to link. No, I'm not easy to link at all. I agree with that. But but at the same time, you have to understand that misinterpretation could of the thought process would deter you from, keeping in contact with me, of saying, okay, Wiz, I got
Right.
this new single. Wiz, I got this. Wiz, are you playing my, and I'm like, I'd be like, yeah, okay, because I'm
Right.
trying to keep up with the music as well, to give to the people and not feed
Right.
them day in, day out the same thing. But at the same
Right.
time, I also have to be courteous of they're in their car, they've had a hard day at work, they want to drive, maybe they want to sing along to a song. So You know what I mean? And stuff like that. So, I mean, my things are minor and thing, you know, but I'm telling you, you know, you at the end of the day are going to do you, whatever the situation
Right.
is. And um, those are the minute things that I see that
Right.
that thing. Um, I me personally, I think that soul and that R&B is a lot of you, a lot
Yeah.
more than this. I think that I mean this one drop that you did here and some of
Yeah.
these songs here, I'm like flawless. They're great, great.
I think what it is for me is like I don't. It's not even like the versatility. It's like I think I literally have my own category. Like I always tell people like my stuff is rhythm and soul because it's like everything kind of has a little bit of reggae, but it's still R&B.
And
Like no matter what I do,
and, and I think you
and it's
could
like
force that hand. If you could force that
yeah,
hand, right? You could force that hand as long as I guess you're going to have to stay with it.
right, right.
One
I
way.
just feel like we're very outdated. It's like there's so much more like than just R&B, just reggae, just hip hop. Like we need to start like opening up fusion type of categories because
I
a
mean,
lot of this is like diverse backgrounds. So it's like I think the music industry is kind of behind the time of where artists are. That's why it's like even Drake when he won best hip hop song for Hotline Bling, and he's like, this is not even a hip hop song, but we're still like, if you're black, you're an R&B singer, or you're reggae, or you're this, or you're that, and you're just kind of like
and I
labeled.
understand that point too, and I understand that point too. So I mean, nothing, you know, nothing tried. If you don't try it, you know, it can't be done. And so I don't think I have the right to detour you from that. Uh,
It's not even a detour. It's just understanding like what is it that
and
people are confused about me about. Like it's good to hear from by looking in.
and I think that that now is what something I may have to go look into and understand within myself is that, you know, is that maybe this could be the new.
Yeah,
You know what
just
I
don't
mean?
tell nobody. Let
No,
me break it first.
well, no, I mean,
Yeah,
not by that, but I mean that that's something we might be able to look into because if we're always looking for the new song, why can't we look
right.
for the new genre then? And why can't
Exactly.
we look for the new thing? So I don't and that's what I say with the outside disturbances is
Mm.
you got to be able to focus. If this is going to be the new, then you got to
Right.
focus on this as a new. I don't
Right.
I don't mean to be telling you that you have to do R&B and you have to do this and you have to sit. No, because then you sit into that genre. But if you want a new genre, then
Right.
forget all the noise outside the best you can. And
Right.
if what do you call it, fusion or whatever, the vibe or whatever it is, that's been it, then we have to flow through with that because you don't know, you could be breaking it for so much other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm not going to deter you from that. That is not where my deterrent is. My deterrent is okay, if Alicia is going to go with fusion, then make sure you stick with fusion and you stick
Right.
with this. I mean, you could be
Right.
all over it, you know what I mean?
Right.
Um, all that and all that stuff right now. Questions from the board as well. There's
They got 5 minutes.
yeah, spicy is like a stone, like Jones and for me and Media Biz and many others, Lady Flow
Okay.
and them that for Wizology. She's in America and she wants to know what you're listening to right now.
What I am listening to right now is the last couple of collaborations that I did.
Okay, okay. So outside of Alicia Cinnamon, what?
What do I listen to? Honestly, I'm very old school. Most of my playlist is like Etta James, Lauryn Hill, Luther Vandross. Like I'm very, very old school. That's what I listen to.
Okay.
I think maybe hey, you guys can drop me some new artists that I can listen to. majority of my playlist is Canadian. Like I have a lot of like Sample King, Swift Dawn, Isis. Like I have a lot of Canadian content that I listen to.
Okay, okay, okay. See, she said Melanie Durant. You see?
Yeah.
You see? You see?
Like honestly, Melody is like I love Melody, but
Yeah.
for me, it's like because especially being a female, I try not to overwhelm the females because I don't want anybody to feel like I'm trying to like step on their toes. So I love them from like a distance. But Melanie is one of those people that she's always been like, "Hey, girl," like
Melanie's
she's so
too cool
welcome.
for that,
Like,
man. Melanie's too cool for that, yo.
she is.
Melanie's
She is.
super chill. Melanie, I'm just pressuring Melanie.
Yeah.
I've waited for that shoot. I wanted that song from.
She just dropped a new single. Y'all go check it out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I seen her doing all these interviews now. I'm watching her. She doesn't know. I follow her live religiously still. So I seen her. She's doing some couple interviews now with her new stuff. So good for Melanie. I mean, she's a stone in the pillar in this industry here. That she's very underrated. People need to start taking a listen to Melanie Durant. You know what I
Right.
mean? So look out for Melanie. But hey, you know what, Alicia, I thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. It was good. We had a great conversation. We've been here. We've taken up the people's times for almost 3 hours and stuff like that. But we got a lot of things across the board that
Yes.
I'm hoping that people look at and see in a different light. And a lot of things that you have said will resonate with other artists because they probably feel the same way. But now they have a couple of voices to look at, a couple of voices to understand what's going on. So listen, everybody go check out Alicia Cinnamon. She's on all social media platforms. Her site is www.aliciacinnamon.com.
Yep.
All right. And you could catch her anywhere on the platform. And especially if you're in Atlanta. Atlanta's,
Yeah.
especially if you're in Atlanta. So Canada, all I have to say is let's not lose another one. Let's try and build and uplift. You know what I mean? Let's try and see if we can make that change. And I'm talking about the changes in now, right? The changes
Yeah.
in now. So Alicia, thank you. Appreciate you. And have yourself
I appreciate it.
have yourself. I hope you had fun and I hope you enjoyed yourself.
I did.
I hope it was, wasn't what you expected. I think it was more.
It wasn't. It wasn't at all. It was very necessary. Like I was just like, I know a lot of lives and there's mix up and all this stuff, and I'm like, I'm really not into the mix up.
No,
Like
we
I'm
don't
just
do that here. We don't do that. That's a no right here. We try to deal with the one small little light that we have of positiveness the best way we
exactly.
can. So
Exactly.
we want everybody to feel comfortable. I mean, listen, people say the negative stuff and stuff like that, but we don't carry it out
Right.
outlandish, right? So there's good and bad in everything, honestly.
Exactly.
So
Thank you.
we just
Appreciate it.
appreciate you. So listen, appreciate you. Keep the
Bye
lane
guys.
and stay solid.